getting it in. I there's going to be a payoff at the end here. So what I propose to you is, what's that one question that will really determine what your leadership style is? Whether you lead a team, whether you lead at home, you lead your kids, you lead a partnership, whatever it may be. This one question is going to determine where your leadership really stands. So, really, what I'm bringing forth to us, and here's what I want you to do, guys. Let's be active here in the chat and in the comments. So I know we got people just coming out of the chat. So those of you watching replay, man, jump in the comments. Let's explore this together because that's just the whole concept. Power. Leaders, how many of you ever worked for a leader where you felt like you were just a cog in this wheel, that you were just a resource being managed? I'm willing to bet that many of you have. And in fact, if you've ever played sports, I love coming as a former athlete, bringing the sports examples, stories into everything I do is really prominent. And I can tell you this: I high school football, graduated. I did my service. College football, graduated. I did my service, and it wasn't like there was anything after that that helped me either in transition, then not even into the professional ranks. Right? It was just about, you play for us, we're going to give you some money, and be on your way. So the development of us as athletes was confined to our role, our position, our job. So, for business, it oftentimes feels the same way. Like that. No one ever called me afterwards. How's your body 5 years down the road? Hey, how's your mental health? How's your head? No one called. No one seemed to really care. Everyone just kind of moved on with their roles. And oftentimes we see that in the corporate space with leaders who are like, "Hey, I'm just here to police you. I'm here to micromanage you. You're a resource, and I need to get this accomplished because I run the business or I run this department. I manage this team." We see a lot in leadership, and it's a power struggle. So, what we want to do is be mindful of, are we exhibiting power over others or power with others? I think this is a really unique distinction because often people are like, yeah, it's common sense. Yeah, we want to have power with others. Like this provides an experience that's collaborative, that's creative, that's humane, right? We're conscious of the individuals that we're working with. We think it's common sense, but it's not common practice. And we still see 2026, we still see it all the time. People exhibiting a leadership style where it's power over others. And the examples out there are endless. Governments, corporations, sports teams, all the way down to youth sports. It is prevalent everywhere. So many people think, yeah, it's common sense, but my friends, it's not always common practice. And we think we're doing the right thing, but we may be wearing a certain lens by which we learned as leaders. Well, I learned from someone who managed me, my former boss, or the person that used to own my company, or a former coach. I learned from them how I lead today. And so there's a particular lens that we're wearing, and we can't see other options because this is the lens by which. So, for example, if you're walking around with blue colored lenses, you may not realize that there's a plethora of different colors out there: red, blue, or green, orange, yellow, etc. All you see is blue. And so my hope is that if you are wearing a certain lens, that in the next few minutes, at least you're open to the idea that there are different options out there than just leading from a place of exhibiting power over others. So, because it's really just a silent killer. This is, this is the blind spot that so many leaders have. And today, as I break down what it means to have power over others, it's really anyone who wants to exhibit power over others. It is really rooted in fear. That's what it is. It's fear. It's weakness. It comes People think it's strength because I'm in a position of power. I can pull the strings. I control things. And they think that's strength, whether it be because of title or tenure, whatever it may be. It is based on fear. And so, where I want to help you look at a different shift, the first one is shifting from the desire, the need to control, to, which is I call the shots. I'm up on the top of the scaffolding. I'm talking down to you. And it may not be in a demeaning, belittling way. It still is. It can be that silent trap, that silent killer that kills cultures, that kills connection, that kills trust in teams. So we want to shift from, hey, I'm up here and I'm leading you from up here to creating a scenario where it's like, hey, we're going to do this together. And which leads actually to police number two is I'm not here to police you. I'm here to coach you. And this is where I feel so many leaders get stuck is they want to manage people versus coaching them. They're managing their behavior. They're managing whether they show up on time, or managing how the intricacies of doing their work. If you got feel like you got to manage someone like that, you're not doing your job. So we want to shift from that management mentality into coaching them, coach them up. Coaching is like, I'm going to sit right down next to you, side by side, and we're going to work through this together. And I'm going to ask you questions because as a leader, your job is not to fix it, to give them the answers, the solution. When you coach them through it, you coach them through with a series of thought-provoking questions that opens them up to think about, oh, what is possible here? What can I create? What is the solution? Allow them to flex those muscles to get those reps to figure it out. Because here's the thing. If you lead anybody, man, you don't want them knocking on your door constantly. You got enough to do. You're running a company. You're running a department. You're running a team. You don't want and this is where so many organizations get stuck. So many leaders get stuck. I feel like they feel important. Oh, if I'm needed, I'm a value. I'm an importance. Man, that's the bottleneck. Your culture is not going to flourish. Your team isn't going to perform. Behavior is going to stay stuck if you are constantly being brought in. So we want to shift away from I'm here to lead and police and keep everyone in a straight line to coaching people up. The next shift is going from the scoreboard, which is rooted in ego, and focusing on what we can control, the controllables: effort, attitude, response. Well, it's only three things we can control: attitude, effort, response. So we want to get away from, hey, the scoreboard is how that's what we identify with. That's how we judge. That's how we recognize. That's how we reward. Because your team can't control it, and neither can you. So now we're putting so much emphasis and attention to something we can't control. And I hear this all the time. But Cletus, we got to make money for this company to survive, or for this team, or for my job to survive. And I get it. And that's exactly my point, my friend. If you want to generate more revenue, if you want to create a culture that's thriving, if you want to improve performances, behaviors, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Moving away from the scoreboard, things you can't control, moving away from ego. I need to be right. I got to determine and dictate the path that we're on. And I'm going to put a little asterisk there, and I'll come back to it. To what do we need to do together? And how can we do this together? When I come back to that asterisk, I want to highlight that at the end of the day, you are the leader. You do lead this team, this company. And when it comes down to it, you're there to make the final decision. But you haven't done it in a silo. You've done it with your team. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you are going to make the decision to move things forward. but it isn't in a way of which it's rooted in ego. I need to be right. We got to do it my way because I want all the accolades. I want to be celebrated. So, what I want you to be mindful of is that, well, let me ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like, I really don't care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. One is like, I need all the attention. I need all the glory. I need to make the money. I got to be responsible for it. Like, where are you on that? And yes, I flipped it because I want you to recognize that one's a lonely place. 10 is an abundant place because that's what power over others is built and rooted in scarcity, which is fear, which is feeling of inadequacy, which is feeling insecure. And so I got to put my control over others. What it ultimately comes down to, of all those things, is that individual has no power for themselves. So that one question that I proposed in the very beginning, that's the title of this video, determine your leadership style, is what are you afraid of? Because what you are afraid of is going to come out in your leadership style. And for most leaders that are leading from a place of power, they're leading from fear. And it's a mirror, and your people feel it. The challenge is they are probably conditioned to this is the way things are. I don't have power. I am led by people who have power over me because that's what all they've ever known. That's crazy. But then we were like, why do you have so much dysfunction in our culture? Why can't I motivate my team? Why are we not performing at the level we want to be? Why are they constantly dependent on me? Because of the power over others versus with others, with them, sitting down with them, coaching them up, giving them the autonomy to try things on, to take a risk, to make mistakes, and to come back and use them as lessons to get better. That's how we grow. It's a longer term play. Short term play is this is the way we're going to do it, or else you lose your job, or you get demoted, or you don't get the pay bump. And so in the short term, you're going to get them to jump, get them to do what you want because you are in power. But in the long term, man, it is a culture killer. It is a performance killer. So what I want you to be mindful of is what's that one thing that, or two things, or all the things that you're afraid of, because that's what's going to show up in your desire. That's going to show up because of your lack of power in yourself. Those who are exhibiting power over others do not have, they're weak, right? Their power source is low. So they have to go get power from others because they don't have it. So if that's you, my friend, hey, you're not alone. It's most, I don't say most, but it's quite a bit of our leadership out there. Have some grace for yourself and just recognize that it's simply your leadership style is a mirror back into how you see yourself. And if you are feeling inadequate, feeling insecure, if you're rooted in scarcity, then it's going to show up in needing power for others because you're lacking it. So the greatest thing that you can do is to stop and go inwards and generate your own power. And then you come to the team from a place of power. And it does one of two things. If you've been around my mirror-based leadership, you know what I'm going to say right here. You come from a place of power, and it invites them to do one of two things. It's either going to reflect back to your team where they're lacking their own power. And you'll see it because they're going to get triggered. They're not going to be locked in. They're going to push back. They're going to complain. But if you're coming from integrity, if you're coming from authenticity, like you are standing in your own power, it's going to either trigger them or it's going to invite them to step into their power. Now, here's where you as a leader truly become unstoppable. You're in your power. They're in their power. My friends, I call this be the torch. You're your torch. They take the invitation. They light their own torch. And now we got a blaze, my friend. So if you are trying to exhibit your power unto others, it's coming from a place of weakness. I hope that you take that with a serious velvet hammer. I do it out of love, but I also want us to recognize that people are tired of that shit. It's just not. We know more now, and we're being more and more exposed to all the ways in which we can lead people beyond with the iron fist. And I think a lot of entities in our country and our world could benefit from leading with others versus power over others. So I just want to reiterate that leadership isn't about title, it isn't about the power. Really, it's about the impact that you can make, the influence that you have by supporting your team collaboratively, working with them, exploring the creativity that comes from that, the autonomy that they get to experience. Like they're going to love that stuff. They're going to lean into that far more than the authoritarian or the power control coming from a weak vessel. And they may not be able to communicate, but they're going to feel it because for a lot of them have those blue lenses on. They don't know any different. They used to be a high school athlete or a college athlete, and they had coaches who were exhibiting power, demeaning, name calling, sarcasm, all that negativity that they experienced in sports. And then they got into a career and they attracted managers or owners of companies that they work for that exhibit that same type of behavior because that's how they see themselves. So what an amazing thing you can do for your people to show them a different way of leadership. So your leadership style, what's that one question? What do you fear, my friend? Hey, if this was helpful, put it in the comments. Just if I can help support you in this. And I'll just end with, hey, how you doing? Thanks for who did join. And for those that be of support, and just love you to support the channel here. Love you to throw a comment in there. How can I be of support to you and how you lead in business and in life? Catch you.